Hey guys, Mellow Modesty here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the third volume of Transmetropolitan, Year of the Bastard. And during the time I'm recording this, it is election day, which I have got to say is the best possible time to read/review this book, because this is all about elections and politics. This volume of Transmetropolitan takes a very different feel and turn from the first two volumes. While the first two volumes were for the most part one-shots with a few miniature story arcs, this is the beginning of what seems like it's going to be a pretty big story arc in the series. The story in this volume revolves around an election that's going to happen, and this volume in particular is choosing the candidates to fight the beast. The choices are Callahan, and he is named the Smiler, or I believe his name is Bob Heller. And they are they seem very different, but they are very similar candidates, and this is really an election where there are no winners. In the beginning of this volume, we find Spider Jerusalem turned into a drug addict once again. And he is not experimenting with drugs, he is a full-blown addict. And Darrick Robertsin does a great job of showing that. I don't think I've ever read a comic book where I have seen a character and thought, this guy's really fucked up, like I have in this book. Spider Jerusalem is on a lot of narcotics. And under all of these drugs, he still has to cover the conventions, the debates, and the election. In this volume, we also get introduced to quite a few new characters. We obviously get introduced to the Smiler, who is one of the presidential candidates. We also get introduced to Bob Heller, who is a Richard Nixon type character, who is pretty fucking scummy, if I do say so myself. Spider also gets a new assistant whose name is Yelena, I believe is how you pronounce it. She is Royce's daughter, and she's a really fun character. There's a lot of fun banter between her and Spider, and then we also get the assistant, the director assistant or whatever, of the Smiler, whose name I'm blanking on right now, but she is a really cool character that I really liked. Let's see if I can find her name. Her name is Vita, and she is a really, really interesting character, and it is sad to see what happens at the end of this book because of that. The biggest change to this book, as compared to the first two volumes, is the tone. While the first two books I found were very funny and fun reads, this I found to be pretty dark and depressing, honestly, because, I don't know, there's not a lot of laughs in this. This is my favorite volume so far, but there's not a lot of laughs. There is a lot of more depressing themes. For example, there's this scene where Spider leads this group of his followers down these alleys and take him to basically a third world country in the middle of the city, and it is really dark and depressing. He shows what the Beast is doing, that basically he created this city just to round up all of the poor, and there are these diseases, like here he shows this kid who has this disease that's eating through his cheek, and he says this is a disease that used to only be found in third world countries. Now it's only found in America, and it's just things like this that are really, really depressing and just sad. There's also, obviously, the whole thing about Spider becoming a drug addict in this book and his life sort of spiraling downhill. That being said, there are still one or two laugh-out-loud moments. The one that resonates with me the most is when Spider is beating a old lady, and I'm not going to ruin the punchline for you, because if you've watched my videos, you know that I am very good at reciting jokes horribly. But it is a really funny scene, and it is one of the glimmers of light in this very, very dark volume. There's also a scene where everyone is wearing Spider's glasses, and you find out that there is a Spider Jerusalem fan club store, which he's pretty pissed off about. From the very first few pages, it is apparent that this volume is much darker, with the whole black, white, and red stylistic, depressing tone to Spider popping pills, and it is just very, very apparent that his life is spiraling downhill. But it makes for the best volume yet, in my opinion, so I really can't say anything bad about it. One thing that I've noticed in this volume more than I have in others is how Darrick Robertsin's art is really amazing at scenes like this, for example. He's great at showing emotion, but making it look very cartoony and even pop arty, I would say. Here's another example. Yet, at another scene, it looks very photorealistic and, like, really realistic shading, and it's just strange how his art changes. Here's that funny scene where he beats up the old lady. And here's another example of the very photorealistic artwork. This is actually one of my favorite pages in the book. It is just a really cool page. Another great return from the first volume is the different artists doing the covers for this book, which is something that I really missed in the second volume. For the first 3 issues, Jay Lee is doing the covers, who I think is interesting, but I don't know how I like his artwork for the Transmetropolitan universe. And then the last 3 issues of this volume are done by Dave Gibbons, who many of you guys know for, what's it called? Watchmen. How could I forget that? It's only my favorite book of all time. But his artwork is also really good, and I think his more akin to the Transmetropolitan universe. And honestly, like, I couldn't even tell it wasn't Darrick Robertsin, but nothing wrong with that, because his art's awesome. But I really like this feature of different artists able to explore the Transmetropolitan universe. Closing comments for Transmetropolitan Volume 3, Year of the Bastard, is that this is by far my favorite volume of this series so far, and if it keeps up with this standard of quality, this is going to be a really great series. I'm really excited to see where it goes from here, because this volume rocked. I would totally recommend this to anyone who is into politics or is pissed off at politics and the world and the media. Great, great book. If I were to rate it, I would probably give it a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed this, and I hope you guys enjoyed this review as much as I enjoyed making it. Have a good day, guys. Later.